When Season 2 finally dropped, it got mixed reactions. Millions of people tuned in, but not everyone was happy. Some felt it didn't live up to the first season. Others thought it was repetitive. Some fans loved it, while others said it should never have been made. With all of this in mind, let's break down why Squid Game Season 2 shouldn't have worked, but somehow it still managed to keep people watching. When Squid Game first came out on Netflix in 2021, no one expected it to become such a massive hit. The South Korean survival drama took the world by storm, racking up millions of views and breaking records. People loved the intense story, shocking twists, and the way it tackled real-life issues like class struggles and desperation. It was raw, emotional, and unpredictable, everything that makes a great show. Because it was such a huge success, a second season seemed like an obvious next step. But here's the thing, Squid Game wasn't actually meant to have a sequel. The first season ended in a way that didn't really need a continuation. The main character, Seong-gi-hun, played by Lee Jung-jae, had already been through so much, and his story felt complete. But fans wanted more, and Netflix knew there was money to be made. So they gave Season 2 the green light. Right from the start, though, there were big concerns. Could it live up to the first season? Would it have the same emotional depth and surprises? Or would it feel forced, like Netflix was just trying to milk the show for more cash? And what about the new characters? People were already attached to Kang Se-byuk, Cho Sang-woo, and Oh Il-nam from Season 1. So would the new players have the same impact? Then came the behind-the-scenes problems. There were reports of a crazy production schedule, with Seasons 2 and 3 being filmed back-to-back. The creator, Hwang Dong-hyuk, admitted he was under a lot of stress trying to make something just as good as before. There were even controversies about new cast members, which divided fans before the season even aired. But before we keep going, I have a quick favor to ask. I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers by the end of this week, so if you enjoy this kind of content, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed and helped me out. Alright, let's get back to it. When a show becomes a worldwide sensation like Squid Game, the pressure to follow it up is insane. The first season wasn't just successful, it became one of the most watched Netflix shows ever. It won awards, sparked viral memes, and even inspired real-life game shows and merchandise. Naturally, Netflix wanted more, and fans had sky-high expectations for Season 2. But that's where the biggest problem came in. How do you make a second season of something that wasn't even planned to continue? Hwang Dong-hyuk, the mastermind behind Squid Game, had written and directed the first season all by himself. It took him over a decade to bring it to life, and the emotional and physical toll on him was huge. After Season 1 blew up, he admitted that he was drained and wasn't sure if he even wanted to do a sequel. But with Netflix pushing for more and fans demanding answers, he eventually agreed. But the stress didn't go away. In fact, it got way worse. Hwang later revealed that working on Season 2 was much harder than the first. The pressure to live up to expectations was overwhelming, and he even said the stress was affecting his health. Imagine being responsible for creating something that millions of people are waiting to judge the moment it drops. It's enough to break anyone. Another major problem was the unpredictability of success. Squid Game Season 1 became a hit because it was fresh and different. It had an emotional core, brutal twists, and a deeper message about society. But once something becomes popular, audiences expect more of the same without it feeling like a copy-paste job. This was a huge challenge for Season 2. If it followed the same formula, people would say it was repetitive. But if it changed too much, fans might feel disconnected. It was a lose-lose situation. On top of that, there was the issue of Seong-gi-hun's story. Season 1 ended with him making a decision. Would he move on with his life, or try to take down the people behind the games? His arc already felt complete, and forcing him back into the game could feel unnatural. But at the same time, removing him completely would also upset fans. For Netflix, the stakes were also crazy high. The company had been dealing with subscriber losses and needed big shows to keep people watching. Squid Game was one of their biggest cash cows, so they couldn't afford for Season 2 to fail. They pumped even more money into the production, but that didn't guarantee success. If the season flopped, it would be a huge financial disaster for Netflix. Sometimes, when something is too hyped, it's impossible to meet expectations. Before Season 2 even came out, there were already theories, fan predictions, and internet debates about what should happen. Some fans wanted the games to expand globally, others wanted a prequel, and some just wanted it to end on a high note. With so many different expectations, it was impossible to please everyone. And once something gets overhyped, even the smallest flaws feel way bigger. Some people might have been happy just getting more Squid Game, but others would tear it apart for not being as shocking or emotional as the first. At this point, Squid Game Season 2 was already in a difficult position before it even premiered. Fans expected a masterpiece, the creator was under extreme stress, and Netflix was desperate for another hit. With all this working against it, the second season had every reason to fail. But somehow, against all odds, it still happened. The question is, was it worth it? If making Squid Game Season 2 wasn't already hard enough, the actual production process brought even more problems. From tight schedules to filming issues and even controversies on set, the road to getting Season 2 made was anything but smooth. One of the biggest challenges was that Netflix didn't just order one season, they ordered two at the same time. This meant that Season 2 and Season 3 were being developed together, which made things even more complicated. For the cast and crew, this was exhausting. Filming one season of a show like Squid Game takes months of physically demanding work. Now imagine doing that twice in a row without much of a break. Even the actors felt the pressure, as they had to stay in character for extended periods, while also making sure they didn't burn out. The stress of production wasn't just a problem for the creator, but for the entire team. There were reports that some actors and crew members had to push through difficult working conditions, especially during physically intense scenes. In one widely talked about incident, contestants in Netflix's real-life Squid Game, the challenge reality show, claimed that filming conditions were too harsh, with some players experiencing hypothermia while shooting a scene in freezing temperatures. While that was for a separate production, it still reflected concerns about how intense the filming process could be. Even though Squid Game is a fictional show, it still required a lot of physical endurance from the actors, with many scenes involving running, fighting, and enduring high-stress situations. Some reports suggested that filming was so demanding that certain scenes had to be reshot multiple times, adding even more delays to the production timeline. One of the biggest production headaches happened at Incheon International Airport, where Squid Game Season 2 was filming a major scene. The problem? The production crew reportedly didn't block off the area properly, leading to chaos as crowds of people flooded in. Passengers and airport staff complained about the disruption, saying that the filming was interfering with daily operations. This even led to reports of airport security being overwhelmed by the situation. The backlash got so big that Netflix had to release an official apology, promising that they would handle filming locations more carefully in the future. This might not seem like a big deal, but it was a bad look for the show and created unnecessary drama that could have been avoided with better planning. Because of the high expectations, the script reportedly went through several rewrites before filming even started. The first season was a passion project, written carefully over many years. But with Season 2, the process was much more rushed, and some sources claimed that the story had to be adjusted multiple times to fit Netflix's demands. This kind of pressure can lead to inconsistent storytelling, where scenes feel forced or don't flow naturally. And since everything had to be filmed under tight deadlines, there wasn't much room for experimentation or creative freedom. With all these issues, back-to-back filming, health risks, on-set controversies, and script changes, it's no surprise that some fans were worried. When a show gets rushed, it usually suffers. And while Squid Game Season 2 still had a massive budget, money can't always fix a lack of time and creative pressure. With production wrapped up and the show finally released, the next big question was, did the new cast live up to expectations? Or did they make things even more complicated? Bringing in new cast members for Squid Game Season 2 was always going to be tricky. Fans had grown attached to the original characters like Gi-hun, Sae-byok, and Sang-woo, and replacing them with fresh faces was a huge risk. But instead of just introducing new players to the game, Season 2's casting choices led to major controversy before the season even aired. One of the biggest casting controversies involved actor Park Sung-hoon, who was cast as a transgender character in Season 2. Many people in the LGBTQ+ community felt that a cisgender man playing a trans woman was problematic, arguing that Netflix should have cast an actual trans actress for the role. The show's creator, Hwang Dong-hyuk, later admitted that they had struggled to find a trans woman for the part. But his explanation didn't sit well with many fans, who believed that with Netflix resources, they could have done a better job with inclusive casting. This debate sparked heated discussions online, with some defending the casting choice and others calling it another example of Hollywood failing to give trans actors opportunities. Regardless of where people stood, this controversy added another layer of negativity before the season even premiered. Another major backlash came when T.O.P., a former K-pop star and member of Big Bang, was cast in Squid Game Season 2. While many fans were excited to see him acting again, others weren't thrilled, mainly because of his controversial past. T.O.P. had been involved in a drug scandal in South Korea, where he was caught using marijuana, which is illegal in the country. The scandal led to legal trouble and a temporary halt to his career, making him a controversial choice for such a high-profile series. Some Korean fans felt that casting him in Squid Game sent the wrong message, as South Korea tends to have very strict public opinions on celebrities with drug-related issues. On the other hand, international fans were more forgiving, seeing it as a chance for T.O.P. to make a comeback. The backlash surrounding these casting choices created divided opinions before the season even premiered. Some people refused to watch the show because of these controversies, while others didn't mind and were just excited for more Squid Game. In the end, though, controversy can sometimes help a show by keeping it in the spotlight. The more people talked about Squid Game, whether good or bad, the more Netflix benefited from the free publicity. But was the new cast strong enough to carry the season? That's where things get interesting. Season 2 introduced a brand new batch of players, each with their own personalities and backstories. But did they live up to the first season's unforgettable characters? One of the biggest challenges for Squid Game Season 2 was introducing new players that could live up to the unforgettable characters from the first season. Fans were already attached to Gi-hun, Sae-byuk, Sang-woo, and even the mysterious frontman. Replacing them with a brand new group of contestants meant that the writers had to make sure these new characters were just as interesting, relatable, and unpredictable. Some characters managed to stand out and become fan favorites, while others felt forgettable. Let's take a look at some of the key new players and the impact they had on the season. Lee Myung-gi, player 333, the mastermind. Lee Myung-gi quickly became one of the most strategic players in the game. Unlike many contestants who relied on luck or brute strength, Myung-gi was always thinking ahead, trying to manipulate others into doing his dirty work. From the very first game, he showed his intelligence and cold-hearted nature, forming alliances only when it benefited him. He was compared to Sang-woo from Season 1, but while Sang-woo made tough choices out of desperation, Myung-gi seemed to enjoy playing the game like a chess match. His unpredictable nature kept fans on edge, wondering how far he would go to win. Kang Dae-ho, player 388. The wild card. Every season needs a loose cannon, and Kang Dae-ho filled that role perfectly. He was aggressive, unpredictable, and always one bad decision away from ruining everything. Dae-ho didn't care about alliances, and he often caused chaos just for the sake of it. At times, his reckless nature made him seem like a liability, but it also made him dangerous to underestimate. His presence added a layer of unpredictability to the season, making every game feel like it could turn violent at any second. Gyeong Seok, player 246, the manipulator. Gyeong Seok played a different kind of game. He wasn't the strongest or the fastest, but he was the most deceitful. Instead of relying on his own abilities, he spent most of the season playing mind games, tricking other contestants into doing what he wanted. His ability to lie and manipulate made him one of the most hated players in the game. But that's exactly what made him so entertaining to watch. His tactics led to some of the biggest betrayals of the season, proving that in Squid Game, being physically strong isn't always the key to survival. Cho Hyun-ju, player 120, the heart of the season. While a lot of players were ruthless and selfish, Cho Hyun-ju was the opposite. She was one of the few contestants who tried to hold on to her humanity, even when things got dark. Her emotional backstory, struggling to provide for her sick younger brother, made her one of the most relatable characters in the season. Fans were rooting for her, even though it was clear that Squid Game rarely lets the good characters make it to the end. Her journey reminded fans of Sae-byuk from Season 1, but with a different approach. While Sae-byuk was quiet and distant, Hyun-ju actively tried to form bonds with other players, making her eventual fate even more heartbreaking. Park Young-sik, player 007, the fighter. Every season needs a physical powerhouse, and Park Young-sik took on that role. He was strong, fast, and one of the most physically capable contestants in the game. But unlike other brute force players from past seasons, Young-sik wasn't just a mindless fighter. He had a personal reason for competing, and his determination made him a survivor to watch out for. Fans respected his loyalty and ability to protect his allies, but in a game where betrayal is always around the corner, loyalty isn't always a good thing. Jang Geum-ja, player 149, the quiet genius. Jang Geum-ja didn't talk much, but when she did, people listened. She was one of the smartest players in the game, always thinking 2 steps ahead. At first, other players underestimated her, but she proved time and time again that she was a serious threat. She was great at reading people, knowing exactly who to trust and who to stay away from. Her ability to stay calm under pressure made her one of the best strategists in the game, and many fans saw her as a true underdog. Kim Jun-hee, player 222, the loyal teammate Kim Jun-hee was one of the few players who genuinely cared about others. He tried to form real friendships, believing that teamwork was the best way to survive. Of course, Squid Game is a game where trust is a dangerous thing, and Jun-hee's kindness often put him in risky situations. But his loyalty and belief in others made him one of the most likable characters in the season. Park Jung-bae, player 390, the comic relief. Not every character in Squid Game has to be deadly serious. Park Jung-bae provided some much-needed comic relief, helping break the tension with his sarcastic comments and hilarious reactions to the games. That doesn't mean he was useless, far from it. His ability to talk his way out of situations made him a survivor in his own way. While other players relied on strength or strategy, Jung-bae's survival skill was his quick thinking and charm. Kang No-yeol, Soldier 011, the Enforcer. While not a contestant, Kang No-yeol was one of the most interesting new guards introduced in Season 2. Unlike most of the faceless soldiers, Kang No-yeol seemed to have his own agenda, hinting at the idea that not all guards blindly followed orders. His small but key moments in the season made fans wonder if there was more to his story. Was he really just another soldier, or was he secretly trying to take down the system from the inside? His character added layers of mystery, making fans question what role the guards really played in the bigger picture. The new contestants in Squid Game Season 2 brought a mix of personalities, making the season just as intense, emotional, and unpredictable as the first. Some characters quickly became fan favorites, while others were despised for their actions. But the big question remained, did they live up to the unforgettable cast from Season 1? For some fans, the answer was yes. The new characters added fresh dynamics and kept things interesting. But for others, no one could replace Sae-byok, Sang-woo, or Ali, making it hard for Season 2 to feel as impactful as the first. So, what exactly were the biggest praises and criticisms? Let's break down the reaction from both fans and critics. What people loved about Season 2. Even though many were skeptical about a second season, there were still things that audiences genuinely enjoyed. The high-stakes games. One of the strongest aspects of Squid Game has always been its intense, creative, and unpredictable games. Season 2 didn't disappoint in that regard. While some felt the new games lacked the emotional weight of Season 1's challenges, others appreciated how they were designed to be even more brutal and strategic. Expanded world building, Season 2 revealed more about the people behind the games, something that fans had been dying to know. It explored the roles of the guards and even hinted at the international influence of the deadly competition. New character arcs. Some of the new contestants managed to make an impact, with fans quickly getting attached to players like Lee Myung-gi, player 333, and Cho Hyun-ju, player 120. While they weren't replacements for Season 1's iconic cast, they brought their own unique stories to the table. Unexpected twists. One of the reasons Squid Game became such a hit was because it never felt predictable. Season 2 still managed to deliver some shocking moments that kept viewers on edge, proving that the show hadn't lost its ability to surprise people. But while there were things to enjoy, the criticism was just as loud, if not louder. What people didn't like about Season 2. For many fans and critics, Season 2 simply didn't hit as hard as the first season. Some of the biggest complaints included repetitive storytelling. One major criticism was that the season felt too similar to Season 1. While the new games were intense, the overall structure of the season didn't offer much that felt fresh. Many viewers felt like they were watching a less impactful version of the first season, just with different characters. Weaker emotional connection. In Season 1, characters like Ali, Sae-byok, and Ji-young left a lasting emotional impact on audiences. Their tragic backstories and heartbreaking fates made the show feel real and devastating. In contrast, some viewers felt that Season 2's characters, while interesting, didn't carry the same emotional weight. Forced continuation of Gi-hun's story. While fans loved Lee Jung-jae's performance, some felt that Gi-hun's return was unnecessary. His story already had a perfect ending in Season 1, and forcing him back into the world of the games made it feel like a cash grab rather than a natural continuation. Too much focus on the organization. While expanding the world building was interesting, some fans felt that diving deeper into the people behind the games took away the mystery. In Season 1, Part of what made the frontman and the VIPs so terrifying was that we didn't know much about them. In Season 2, trying to humanize or explain the villains removed some of that fear factor. How did critics rate it? When the first season came out, it was universally praised. It had a near-perfect score on Rotten Tomatoes and was considered one of the best Netflix shows ever made. But Season 2 didn't receive the same level of love. Some critics appreciated the new risks. Certain reviewers liked that Squid Game was trying to expand its world rather than just repeating itself. They saw it as an attempt to add depth to the story rather than just making another season of deadly games. But many critics felt it lacked the emotional impact. A common complaint in reviews was that Season 2 didn't have the same emotional pull as the first. Critics pointed out that while it still had intense moments, it lacked the deep personal connections that made Season 1 so powerful. After the release, Squid Game Season 2's ratings weren't bad, but they were noticeably lower than Season 1. While the first season had an approval rating of over 90%, Season 2's score hovered closer to the 70% range. This doesn't mean it was a failure, but it does show that the magic of the first season was hard to recreate. Even though millions of people watched it, the conversation around the show wasn't as overwhelmingly positive as it was the first time around. So, was Season 2 a success? It depends on how you look at it. From a viewership standpoint, Squid Game still pulled in massive numbers, making it one of the biggest Netflix shows of the year. From a critical standpoint, however, it wasn't the masterpiece that the first season was. Many fans felt conflicted, happy to have more Squid Game, but also aware that maybe some stories are better left as one perfect season. So, did Squid Game Season 2 work? Yes and no. It had massive viewership numbers, introduced new characters, and expanded the world of the games. But at the same time, it struggled to recapture the magic of Season 1, with mixed reviews, controversies, and a story that some felt was unnecessary. While it wasn't a complete failure, it proved that some stories are best left alone. With Season 3 already on the way, the real question is, can Squid Game redeem itself, or will it continue to lose what made it special in the first place?